Coronation Street's Helen Flanagan lifts the lid on a surprise co-star feud, and how time healed it. Helen Flanagan has never been shy about sharing her truth, and now, she's offering fans an unexpectedly candid look behind the scenes of Coronation Street, including a revelation that may surprise even longtime viewers of the iconic ITV soap. In her new book, Head Heart, Breakups, Breakdowns and Being Rosie, the actress, best known for portraying Rosie Webster, opens up about her time on the show with a level of honesty that feels both raw and reflective. Among the most headline-grabbing moments, her admission that she once had a very real feud with former co-star Ryan Thomas, who played Jason Grimshaw. On screen, Rosie and Jason's relationship was one of the soap's memorable romantic arcs, full of youthful spark, drama, and emotional turbulence. But as Helen now reveals, their chemistry didn't necessarily translate into off-screen warmth. In fact, she says the pair often clashed, sometimes in ways that were far from subtle. "We used to clash something chronic," according to Helen. Their tension wasn't a minor disagreement or the kind of fleeting irritation that's easily smoothed over. It was frequent enough to become a pattern, and intense enough to leave a lasting impression. "Me and Ryan Thomas, who played Jason, weren't on the best of terms in real life either. We used to clash something chronic," she writes, in an excerpt reported by The Sun. The reason, she claims, was largely rooted in the day-to-day realities of soap production, early starts, demanding schedules, and the pressure to deliver lines flawlessly under time constraints. For Helen, one of Ryan's habits proved particularly difficult to tolerate. She alleges that Ryan would often arrive in the mornings in a foul mood, and, worse, unprepared. Mainly because he would be dead grumpy in the mornings and never used to know his lines. Anyone who has worked in television will understand how quickly that kind of dynamic can escalate. Soap sets, in particular, operate at relentless speed. When one actor is not fully prepared, the ripple effect can impact the entire production, and the stress tends to land hardest on those who feel they're carrying the weight. Helen acknowledges she may not have handled the situation with perfect grace. There's an undercurrent of self-awareness in her writing, a sense that she is revisiting her younger self with both honesty and a hint of compassion. "I probably needed to lighten up a little bit," she admits, but the tension didn't remain unspoken. In a moment that feels almost shockingly direct, Helen says Ryan once told her plainly that he didn't like her, a comment that, unsurprisingly, pushed their relationship from strained to openly hostile. "He once told me outright that he didn't like me and I told him to K off, mature of me." It's a line that lands with a jolt, not only because of its bluntness, but because it's delivered with a self-deprecating wink. Helen doesn't attempt to polish the past or rewrite it into something more palatable. Instead, she lets it stand as an honest snapshot of youthful conflict, messy, reactive, and undeniably human. From feud to friendship, yet perhaps the most striking part of Helen's revelation is not that she clashed with a co-star, but that the story doesn't end there. Over time, she says, the tension faded. Life moved forward, careers evolved, circles overlapped, and somewhere along the way, their relationship transformed from hostility into something unexpectedly warm. "Over the years since, however, we've moved in similar circles and become quite good friends," she writes. It's the kind of shift that often happens quietly, without dramatic reconciliation scenes or grand apologies, simply through maturity, perspective, and the softening effect of distance. Helen goes further, noting she has grown to genuinely respect Ryan not just as a colleague, but as a person. "I've got a lot of time for Ryan and his brothers, Adam and Scott," she adds, calling them good lads. The mention of Ryan's brothers, both of whom have also made names for themselves in entertainment, suggests this is more than a polite public statement. It reads like the kind of comment someone makes when the past has truly been put to rest. And in a media landscape that thrives on celebrity feuds and perpetual drama, there's something quietly refreshing about a story that acknowledges conflict without clinging to it. A darker reflection, was it morally right? Beyond co-star tensions, Helen's book also revisits another, more serious chapter of her Coronation Street journey, one that has long been debated by audiences and commentators alike, how the show handled scenes involving her character during a grooming storyline when she was still a teenager. Looking back, Helen questions whether the production fully considered the moral implications of what she was asked to portray at such a young age, particularly scenes that leaned heavily into sexualization. Was it morally right that I was expected to parade about in my knickers like some mad nymphomaniac when I was still just a teenager? She told the Mirror. The wording is striking and intentionally provocative, capturing the discomfort she feels in hindsight. Helen doesn't simply describe it as awkward or embarrassing, she frames it as a moral issue, pointing directly to the responsibility adults in the industry carry when working with young performers. What makes her reflection even more poignant is her admission that, at the time, she didn't fully grasp what was happening, not in the way she does now. This is a familiar theme for many former child and teenage stars. When you're young, you may comply without question, trusting the adults around you to know best. It's only later, with maturity, that the full weight of those decisions becomes clear. Alison King, kicked off, and Helen understands why now. In one particularly revealing moment, Helen recalls a behind-the-scenes incident involving fellow actress Alison King, who plays Carla Connor. According to Helen, Alison was openly angered by what she saw as inappropriate sexualization of a young actress. Alison King, who plays Carla Connor, once kicked off in the green room, saying how disgusting it was that they were sexualizing me when I was a young girl, Helen recalled. At the time, Helen says she didn't understand the depth of Alison's concern, perhaps because the culture around young women on TV was different, perhaps because she was simply too young to recognize what was being done. I didn't fully comprehend what she was talking about at the time. I do now. I get it. It's a short line, but it carries emotional weight, an acknowledgement of growth, and perhaps even grief for the younger version of herself who couldn't yet see the situation clearly. The story also casts Alison King in a quietly admirable light, someone willing to speak up when something didn't feel right. In an industry where silence can be the easiest option, that kind of intervention matters. A soap that keeps evolving, and keeps viewers hooked. Despite the controversy and behind-the-scenes realities, Coronation Street remains one of Britain's most enduring television institutions, still drawing loyal audiences decades after it first aired. The show continues to air on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and is available to stream on ITVX. And for fans who want to dive deeper into soap gossip, exclusive interviews, spoilers, and theories, there's plenty to keep them engaged beyond the episodes themselves. Inside Soap Magazine's Soap Scoop podcast offers weekly discussions, including previews of upcoming storylines across major soaps. The latest episode, for instance, explores next week's spoilers, from Moira's arrest in Emmerdale to Nigel and Julie's wedding in EastEnders, offering that familiar blend of drama and anticipation that soap lovers thrive on. The bigger picture, what Helen's honesty represents, what stands out most in Helen Flanagan's revelations is not scandal for scandal's sake. It's the balance she strikes between blunt honesty and adult reflection. She doesn't deny her own flaws in the feud with Ryan Thomas. She doesn't pretend she handled everything perfectly. And she doesn't attempt to paint herself as purely victim or purely hero in any situation. Instead, she tells the story as it happened, messy, real, and human, while also showing what time can do to even the sharpest edges of past conflict. Her willingness to revisit uncomfortable truths, especially about her teenage years on set, also taps into a broader cultural conversation about safeguarding, boundaries, and how young performers are treated in entertainment. And perhaps that's why her book is resonating, because it offers not only behind-the-scenes gossip, but something more meaningful, a sense of perspective, growth, and emotional clarity.